Alright, y'all, it's the next night. I just got done completely disassembling the head. And, well, it had 4 mixed up spark plugs in it. 2 of Bosch and 2 NGKs. And they're quite yellowed here at the tip. And the valve seats here are rusty in places. So I'm assuming this head had a blown head gasket. And this was not rebuilt. You can see from the valves here, they're rusty on top. And at least the exhaust ones are covered in, you know, crust and chips. A bunch of carbon. So the head wasn't ever rebuilt. Also, when I pulled the valve stem seals off of here, there were 2 new ones all the way up at the front. The easiest 2 that are get to pull out and replace. But all the rest of them are ancient and petrified. So they just washed it and never, I guess they gave up after the first 2 valve stem seals and decided not to replace them. But because of that rust and the discoloration on these spark plugs, I'm going to have to double check this head and make sure it's good and flat, because it may have overheated and been warped. So I've got my board here with my sandpaper on it, and I'm going to take that and lightly sand over the head here on the deck and just make sure I get all this little gasket off. And that's going to show me any high spots or low spots. And I think I've shown you all this before last time I worked on the 240 head. And I'll use my straight edge and feeler gauges just to check to make sure we ain't got any warpage going on here. And then tomorrow night, by the way, I've already washed this off the best I could. Just a quick rinse off, get off most of the grease and oil, but there's still plenty on here. But tomorrow night I'm going to get started on the porting. You can tell it was, you know, still had the PCV system hooked up with all that carbon buildup there on the intake. The exhaust, oh no, this is the intake. It still had carbon buildup here too, but the exhaust is just full of thick, greasy carbon, so it needed them valve stem seals for a long time. I'm guessing somebody was driving this with the it burning oil and smoking like crazy, and with a leaking head gasket, and what finally killed it was when it spun a rod there in the block. So I'm gonna get this sanded and come back with you, and we'll see if it's any good and worth rebuilding. Alright, y'all, I took my board there and I lightly went over it to get the gasket material off. And interesting thing here in number 3, that's the cylinder I thought had thrown a rod or spun a rod bearing, because I found a scrape mark in the oil pan, and the rod journal on the original number 3 piston was too loose and the bearings were just falling out of it. As you can see here, well, you might not be able to make it out on the camera, but this edge is rolled over on both sides where the piston came up and slapped against it, and just flattened this edge just ever so slightly on both sides. It's not that way on any of the other ones. I can bring it back to this one so you can see what I mean. The camera doesn't quite focus, but it's, you know, the sandpaper didn't touch it. You can tell it's further down. It's not down by much, and I'm not too worried about that, because I took my straight edge here and set it up there in several places and tried to put my finest feeler gauge under it, and I couldn't get to go under anywhere. So this is good and flat. However, I will sand over it a little bit more, because there's some little dimples here and other low spots that I found. They're not really deep, but I just like to make sure. Like, there's some little pitting there. Nothing that's too big of a deal that my little sanding board won't take care of. It's not bad enough to need to take it to a machine shop and have it resurfaced. What I'm doing with the board is just fine. I've done worse than that. But just lay it up there, go back and forth very lightly. This takes forever. Rotate the board, do it the other way. And that's about the extent of it. It's just like block sanding Bondo. You just gotta be careful to keep it really flat and even pressure, and to sand over it evenly. And like I said, when I'm done, Go over and check across the cylinders. And there ain't no light shining through anywhere. Like I said, I can't fit my thinnest feeler gauge there. The head gasket is going to seal just fine against the block with this. I actually checked the block right after I took the head off, and it was also perfectly flat, so we're good there as well. So, yeah. I think I got 1.3 millimeter thick Tomei head gasket coming, and that should work good with those West Coast pistons, which come up just a hair higher than the deck of the block. I mean, you can barely feel it, but I can tell the pistons come just a hair higher. So that head gasket will help provide enough gap to make sure the pistons aren't slapping against the head. So I'm going to get back to sand. That's probably all I'm going to do tonight. All right, y'all. I finally finished with my sandpaper board there. And I've gotten all the little imperfections out except for where the piston slapped. You can see there and right there and right here and here. That's all that's left. All the other little pits are gone. There's a little bit of corrosion left here from where the head gasket meets the edge, but I ain't worried about that. All the ports are now flat and smooth. And I got a perfect mating surface for my new head gasket. I've checked it over again with the straight edge and the feeler gauge, and it's still good and flat. All right, y'all, it's the next night, and I've gotten started polishing the combustion chambers. I've got number 4 done already. I think, nope, that's number 1. I got it backwards. I don't know how well you can see that there, but that's what I'm going for on all 4. That did take me quite a while because you have to be careful not to be hitting the valve seats and changing the shape on them. It's okay if I touch them a little bit when I'm buffing and shine them up, because I'm going to do a 3-angle regrind on these. So I'm going to be resetting the edges too. I just don't want to remove too much material or get them distorted. I'm also going to be polishing down in the bowls and the runners to the same mirror finish, but that probably won't be until next week. I have to wait for some die cam to come in. My gasket set came in today, so I'll be putting that up to do the port matching. But that's going to take a bit more work than what I'm prepared to do tonight. And so I'm probably only going to get 1 more of these done tonight because it does take a while, as tedious as this is. But I just wanted to show you what I'm going for there. I'll probably bring y'all back when I get done polishing this one up. I'll show you how they both look. This here is what I'm using. I have this ancient bit. I'm not going to flex it too much because it's about 20 years old, but it's like a soft rubber stone with abrasive embedded in it. And that little bit of flexibility and the light abrasiveness just really helps for getting in all these little areas. And because it will flex a little bit, you know, you can get into some of the tighter crevices and hard to reach spots with it. And it really just takes off like a little skim coat, so I'm not removing much material at all, and it's a little bit easier to work with than like sandpaper or flapper discs. After that, I go through these. As far as I can tell, while they're different colors, they all seem to be just as abrasive, which isn't very much, and that polishes out the minor scratches left by that. And then I top that off with buffing, with some white compound on a buffing wheel, and I finish it up with some aluminum mag polish, and that's what I end up with. That's probably overkill, but that should reduce the likelihood of spark knock and carbon buildup, hopefully helping the engine last a little bit longer. And like I said, I plan to go down here into the ports and do the same thing. I'm not worried about the fuel dropping out of suspension. It's going to be turbocharged, and well, the injectors sit only about this far away, so actually they're right about here, so they're spraying right before it even enters, so I'm not worried about coming out of suspension. It's not I don't have a very long runner after the injector. It's not a carbureted engine. Well, I'm gonna get to polishing this next one, and I'll bring y'all back, show you what I got accomplished tonight. All right, y'all, I'm done for the night. I got the second one done. And I'm thinking tomorrow night I might set y'all up while I do one of these here. I'll probably speed it up so you ain't got to watch me do the whole boring process, because it does take a while. And I'll go through getting these 2 polished up. Well, I'll show you one of them. Bolt all the stages. show you how this little wheel here works. I'm gonna have to look up what this is called. I don't find them anymore for sale with the rest of the Dremel tools, but I'd like to get some more of these. I've about worn this one down pretty far just doing these two. And there it goes. Anyhow, also I'm going to retap or chase the threads in the spark plug holes. Probably not going to do that tomorrow though. I'll wait until I'm done with all the porting and polishing to do that. And I think I've decided I'm actually going to polish part of the outside of the head, mainly the upper parts where it's really visible, just to keep crust and crud from building back up on it again. But I'll bring y'all back out tomorrow night and set you up, and I'll probably do a time lapse of at least one of these combustion chambers, maybe number 3 here. Alright folks, it's the next night. I figured I'd actually record polishing up at least one of these for y'all. So I've got my flexible, I think it's a silicone disc, and it's got an abrasive embedded into it, and that's what I'm going to be using to clean up the casting, the porosity before I switch and do the polishing. I'll stop and let you know what I'm doing in between for each step, but let's get to it. Alright y'all, that looks pretty good for the basic polishing, just getting out the pits and uneven surface. I'm going to switch my bit now that I'm done with this. These little soft wheels don't actually remove a lot of material at once, so that's why I wasn't too worried about bumping into the valve seats. That, and I'm going to be recutting these seats probably here in a few days when my new 3-angle cutters arrive, so I wasn't too worried. And as you can tell over here with these ones I've already done, once you've polished it, I mean, there's no noticeable nicks or anything in it, so not a big deal. As far as these abrasive discs go, I got several different colors. They're supposed to be different grits, but honestly I cannot tell the difference between them. But these are just going to get rid of all the swirl marks left by that coarser tool. I'm going to get one of these chucked up and I'll go over it real quick, and then we'll go on the next stage. Alright y'all, excuse me, that looks pretty good. We're ready for buffing it now. So I'm going to swap out to my buffing wheel. I'm going to have to go grab another one. I think I got some more in my box in here. If not, I got some more over there. Alright, start over here and I'll get loaded up with some of this white compound. y'all. That's enough of that compound. I'm going to take and try and wipe off the excess. And we'll go to the final polishing step. Gotta be careful to get it out of them corners and places it likes to get stuck. Looks like I've gotten it. I'm going to rub down with a little bit of this aluminum mag wheel polish. This is going to be our final polishing step. It does not take much of this. In fact, that'll do. And I'm going to swap out my buffing wheel. You always want to keep them with the compound you're working with. So that one there was just for the white buffing compound. I use this well, I'm using this one until it wears out for the mag wheel polish. I'm actually going to go ahead and take the excess and just try and rub it into the wheel a little bit, because it'll soak in and spread out and use it. It's also going to sling it all over my glasses and probably hit the lens of the camera too, but that's okay. Alright, let's get to the final stage. Alright, y'all. I'll take me a clean towel and just wipe off the excess. And that should do it. And there you have it, folks. There's another one polished. I removed very little material, didn't damage the valve seats. And it's a mere finish. It was pretty quick to do. So, I'm going to shut y'all off, and I'm going to get to doing this last one here, and then I'll bring y'all back for the next part of this I work on. Alright, y'all. That's all four done. Nice and shiny. I went ahead, and I've got it propped up now, but I went and cleaned everything off with a lint-free rag and some mineral spirits just to get the excess polishing compound off. And clean up, my smears. But that's going to be it for tonight. Like I said, I'll come back tomorrow and do a little bit more polishing and sanding. But that's the final of the combustion chamber polished. I think I can go ahead before I do any more work to the head, and I'm going to tape up this surface and tape up where I've polished up here, just to keep it from getting scratched up, dinged up, and damaged while I'm working on the rest of the head. Just protect it a little bit. Just a little bit of blue planer's tape. A layer or two ought to be good. But that'll be tomorrow. So be back with you then.